the 29th of September 2020, Plants vs Zombies Battle for Neighborville received its final content update. This update added in Wildflower and TV Head as the final characters BFN would receive during its lifetime, but not long after the update, players would soon find out that both Wildflower and TV Head could spam their projectile abilities through the use of a single upgrade. This discovery caused both of the class's upgrades to be locked away forever, never to see the light of day again. But what if I told you that Wildflower and TV Head are still capable of spamming their abilities today, without the use of their locked upgrades, and that those upgrades in particular may not be broken at all? Well, join me today as we uncover the truth behind the Swarm classes and their locked upgrades. So first, let's look at the upgrades that were locked away, their intended effects, and what they ended up doing which resulted in their lockup. The upgrades in question are Flower Food for Wildflower and Fast Forward for TV Head. Both upgrades were intended as refresh upgrades for the Bloom Boom and Overheated Dinner abilities, granting a 6-second refresh upon gaining a Vanquish with the abilities. A pretty good upgrade considering that Bloom Boom has a 20-second cooldown and Overheated Dinner has an 18-second cooldown. But unfortunately, the upgrades didn't exactly grant the intended effect, instead allowing both Wildflower and TV Head to spam their abilities with no cooldown at all. With the amount of time they can spam their abilities for getting extended with each Vanquish. And getting a Vanquish is pretty easy when you consider that both Bloom Boom and Overheated Dinner's max damage is 75. This unintentional effect caused the developers to lock up these upgrades, and they still remain locked to this very day. But despite the fact that these upgrades have been locked up for over 4 years now, it's actually still possible to spam both Bloom Boom and Overheated Dinner to this very day, which moves us on to our next point. With the Swarm's upgrades locked up, most people assumed that the upgrades were just broken, but a very small portion of the BFN community knew otherwise, as on a video uploaded by ShadeThrone10, an interesting reply would appear to a comment made by Wildflower Boy. The user JosielFerro2988 would essentially leave a reply stating that it was still possible to pull off the spamming through the Critical Blow upgrade. Then on the 3rd of March, seemingly out of nowhere, PsychoSibs Gaming uploaded a video which detailed how Refreshing Revive could be used to spam Bloom Boom and Overheated Dinner, due to a comment on a previous video by Arthur Morgan/TuxedoGator. And interestingly enough, I discovered another comment mentioning Critical Blow, also pulling off the same effect, by the user TwinSomethingSomething. Then 10 days after PsychoSib's upload, a YouTuber with the name Matt2000 would upload a video also detailing Refreshing Revive's effect, but no comments were left on this video about Critical Blow. And no videos had been uploaded to YouTube showing Critical Blow in action at the time, to my knowledge. That was until I myself discovered what Critical Blow could do, and on the 30th of September 2021, I uploaded a short video which showed the broken power of Critical Blow on Wildflower and TV Head.
But there's one they fear. In their tongue, he's Dovahkiin, Dragonborn.
And then about 2 months later, some gaming fan uploaded a similar video highlighting Critical Blow's effect on Wildflower and TV Head. They also did some calculation on the amount of damage that the Swarms could deal by spamming out their abilities as well, and then also mentioned that Refreshing Revive would also work. Now that we've covered the discovery of Critical Blow and Refreshing Revive replicating the effects of flower food and fast forward, I'll now delve into why this occurs. So now that we've covered that both Critical Blow and Refreshing Revive allow Bloom Boom and Overheated Dinner to be spammed once again, let's talk about why this occurs. So we know for a fact that Critical Blow and Refreshing Revive aren't broken as upgrades, since after all they are universal upgrades that every single character has access to. And when other characters use them, it doesn't grant their abilities an instant refresh. So what's the deal with Wildflower and TV Head? Well, you know how I mentioned that Bloom Boom's cooldown was 20 seconds and Overheated Dinner's cooldown was 18 seconds? I sort of only told you a half truth there, as both of these abilities actually have a short window where the cooldown timer will be 1 second long. Yes, you heard me correctly, 1 second long. Now bear in mind the cooldown does reset to the actual time after this short window, but what that essentially means for the Swarm classes is that anytime they receive an ability refresh from an upgrade and then use Bloom Boom or Overheated Dinner, those abilities will then instantly be refreshed due to quite literally having a 1 second cooldown, allowing the abilities to be spammed. And depending on how long the refresh upgrade lasts for, will be the amount of time you have to spam the abilities. So this would be about 5.5 seconds for Critical Blow, 10 seconds for Refreshing Revive, and for the locked upgrades, this would have been 6 seconds, but you have to remember that the locked upgrades gave a 6-second refresh each time you get a Vanquish with the abilities. And when you can spam the abilities, getting Vanquishes with them becomes a lot easier, and then the refresh time will continuously have 6 seconds stacking on top of each other for each Vanquish you get. This is probably why the locked upgrades made it feel like players could just spam these abilities forever. Everything I've just said essentially sums up in a nutshell that the locked upgrades aren't actually broken at all. They work exactly as intended, and is actually a small flaw in the cooldown time of the Swarm classes themselves, which is the real problem. So with that explanation out of the way, I'll explain very briefly why this ability spamming potential doesn't work with the upgrades Seed Dispersal and Dinner for 2, or should I say it yields some intriguing results. You see, neither of these two upgrades allow for you to spam the abilities due to two different reasons. Reason number one is that Seed Dispersal applies a second charge to Bloom Boom. This basically means that when you use one Bloom Boom, the ability sort of immediately refreshes / cycles into the second charge, and you have to be in that second charge before you can use another Bloom Boom. Although I will say that when testing what the refresh effect would do, it seemed like it refreshed both of the Bloom Boom charges, although bear in mind, you do have to use both Bloom Booms after activating the refresh effect. And reason number two, the amount of time it takes to launch both projectiles from Dinner for 2 will miss the 1 second cooldown window. However, that doesn't make it completely obsolete, as when testing the refresh effect with Dinner for 2, I would actually find that sometimes I would be given significantly shorter cooldown times on the Overheated Dinner ability. Like, one time I received a cooldown that somehow started at 11 seconds, which then refreshed through Critical Blow to grant me a 7-second cooldown for my next ability. Or these moments where my cooldown started at 4 seconds, and then I got the refresh time from Critical Blow to essentially bring my ability back mega quick. Although this could just be a strange quirk of Overheated Dinner itself, as I got a 5-second cooldown without any refresh activations, and with Dinner for 2 not equipped on a testing occasion. These additional effects were interesting to document, and in a way make me wonder how seed dispersal and dinner for two would have functioned if flower food and fast forward were still capable of being used. So judging by the name of this next part, some of you might be wondering what I mean by the two projectile rule. Well, it's actually something I discovered completely by accident whilst doing my testing, in the fact that both Wildflower and TV Head can only have two of their projectiles present at any given time, and I'll try to explain and show what I mean. So, say you activate an ability refresh, and then start spamming the projectiles. You launch one, then you launch two, then you launch a third, which causes the first projectile to vanish, and then you release a fourth projectile, which then causes the second one to vanish. This unusual rule means you can't spam multiple projectiles in the air to use as an aerial bombardment, basically restricting the actual usefulness of the spamming to short-range encounters, which isn't too much of a big deal as most players would probably use these abilities in the shorter range most of the time anyway. But this unusual two projectile rule raises an interesting question for me. Why does this exist? I mean, these abilities were never created to be spammed, and they were basically always made to only have two out at once, especially with how seed dispersal and dinner for two are literally created with the intent to allow you to launch two projectiles, and no other normal means will allow you to extend past this number. There is literally no reason for this two projectile rule to exist when the normal means only allow you to send out a maximum of two projectiles, which then makes me wonder, did the developers actually know? Like, were they aware that Wildflower and TV Head could spam their abilities, and in a way to combat this, they created this two projectile rule system to remove the oldest projectile once you reach past the two projectile checkmark? Well, that's a question the developers can answer, and considering how active the PvZ social medias are, I think it's safe to say we probably won't get an answer to this. Wildflower and TV Head got robbed of two fairly decent upgrades due to a flaw in their ability refresh times. It's a shame too, cause if flower food and fast forward could be used today, I definitely could see them used plenty in upgrade builds for both PvP and PvE alike. And if I had to give my explanation / theory on why these abilities were locked up, I'd probably say this. Two new characters get released in BFN's final content update. A bug gets discovered due to an upgrade people are using, the developers lock the upgrades as they assume is the main cause, and the rest is history. And let's be real here, even if the developers did discover the actual reasons why the ability spamming occurs, they probably wouldn't fix it as they had just released the characters and it was BFN's final content update, and they probably wouldn't bother fixing them. I mean, we're talking about the same people who removed Chomper from the game at one point. Anyway, I finished talking about the Swarm characters' locked upgrades and refresh glitchiness. Thank you for watching my video everyone, and if you enjoyed it, leave a like, share it to people who might be interested in this useless information, and I'll see you all in my next video.